Khattab, the economic expert. Good evening, sir.
Good evening to all of you.
Thank you for joining us on this show, Nile TV International. So, Mr. Ahmed, how do you assess the current Egyptian-African economic relations compared to 5 years ago? What's the most significant achievement or the biggest achievement and the most persistent point of weakness from your own point of view?
Yes, first of all, let me present a special thanks to our leader, President Abdel Sisi, because once he is the chairman of African Union in 2019, he make a great effort to the Egyptian-African relation. Compared to 5 years ago, Egyptian economic engagement with Africa is significantly deeper and more institutionalized. Trade volume have expanded. Egyptian investment have increased across infrastructure, banking, energy, and telecommunication, and Cairo has strengthened its role within a continental institution such as AFCFTA and the African Union. The biggest achievement is the transformation from a largely diplomatic relation into a more economic-driven partnership supported by transport, corridor, trade agreements, and investment initiatives. The most present weakness remain logistics and connective despite geographical proximity. Transportation goals between Egypt and many African markets remain more expensive and time-consuming than exporting to Europe, limiting the fuel potential of inter-Africa trade. But till now, the wonderful communication between Egypt and Africa lead Egypt to be the most important gate for all foreign investment with Africa. So Egypt play a very essential role because Egypt is the main country in Africa ready by investing more and more in infrastructure and invest more and more in logistics and invest more and more in order to be more easy connected with all the African key countries like South Africa, like Kenya, Eritrea, and also Sudan and Libya and many different countries. So thank you, President Sisi, for supporting Egypt to be the leader country in Africa, especially North Africa. And I think Egypt possesses a unique advantage in the Suez Canal corridor, Suez Canal logistics area, modern Mediterranean and Red Sea ports, in industrial zone and the trade agreement with Africa, Arab and Europe markets. However, a gateway is only effective if goes more efficiently in all directions. Egypt has built a world-class infrastructure domestically, but continental transport links remain undeveloped, and Egypt needs more great effort in this fight. The Cairo-Cape Town corridor and the regional logistics network are improving connectively, but this container is still lack integrated railway, custom system, and the transportation corridor. And Egypt do a wonderful effort in order to make it done by a very good way. So Egypt has gateway potential, but Africa infrastructure deficit is still limited. It's before realization, but we do a wonderful communication with all African Union in order to facilitate the trade between Egypt and Africa.
Yes, Mr. Ahmed, intra-African trade remains below 15% of the total African trade. Egypt exports to Africa are still a fraction of its exports to Asia or to Europe. So what are the barriers, specific barriers from your own point of view, either tariff or non-tariff, are blocking Egyptian goods from reaching Africa?
Yes. Still, we are in need to activate some African commitment like COMESA commitment, and also Africa trade, Africa AFCFTA trade also should be applied. We still face some challenge, but Egypt all time do the best to facilitate all the process. Different technical and quality standards between Egypt and Africa, limited direct shipping, high foreign and cost, foreign exchange restriction in some markets, visa and business mobility constraints, weak trade information system. All this challenge, and Egypt all time try to make a wonderful achievement in order to trade. For many Egyptian exporters, shipping containers to Europe can still be easier than shipping it to parts of sub-Saharan Africa. And the challenge is no longer trying to trade agreement, it is implementing trade facilitation measure. And Egypt tries all time to solve this problem. Egypt is a competitive in several manufacturing sectors, but not across the border. Strong sector includes building material and the cement, pharmaceutical products, electrical appliances, chemical and fertilizers, processed food, dairy products and cables, compatible with South Africa, and we all time try to support each other in order to increase the inter-Africa trade volume. The most significant achievement has been Egypt's transition from a largely North African focused economy to a more active continental player through a trade agreement, infrastructure projects, banking section expansion, and institutional leadership. Egypt today hosts the headquarters of the African Export and Import Bank, Afromix Bank, and has become a major supporter of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Cairo has positioned itself as a hub connecting the African market with the Gulf and Europe capital. And this is also because of the wonderful location of Egypt and the all infrastructure we invest more. Total trade between Egypt and African Union country reached approximately from 9.8 to 9.9 billion in 2024, up from about 9.2 billion in 2023, reflecting a growth regularly from 6 to 8%, and this is a great increase. Even we face corona pandemic, and even we face some instability in the, especially in the Gulf, because of the Iran and USA war. Egyptian exports to African countries reached approximately 7.7 to 7.8 billion in 2024. Imports from African countries reached about 2.1 billion in 2024, for example. Africa share in Egypt trade. Egypt's total exports worldwide reached approximately 44 billion US dollar in 2024. African markets therefore account for roughly 17% of Egyptian exports, indicating room for significant expansion.
So, Mr. Khattab, as the African Continental Free Trade Area is now operational, so what are the most important sectors, or the sectors that should be prioritized by Egypt under this free trade area?
Egypt, the most important thing we make export to Africa, cement and building material, approximately 700 billion US dollars. $1 million, 700 million US dollars. Plastic and plastic products, approximately $593 million per year. Flour and milling products, approximately 410 million. Fertilizers, chemical, electrical appearance, pharmaceutical products, and all this is we make export and trade between Egypt and Africa. Egypt's export profile to Africa is dominated by manufacturing and semi-manufacturing goods, which provide a higher value-added return than raw commodity exports. Main imports from Africa products compared and copper and copper products. Egypt imported by around 742 million per year. Coffee, tea, and spices, 287 million per year. Fuel and mineral oil, 204 million. Livestock, 140 million per year. So, major African suppliers to Egypt: Democratic Republic of Congo, 662 million. Sudan, 292 million. Kenya, 260 million. Nigeria, 165 million. South Africa, 154 million. Egypt invests in Africa. Egypt investments across Africa is estimated at more than 12 to $14 billion connecting in construction, infrastructure, banking, telecommunication, energy, manufacturing. Major Egyptian players, including Arab contractors, Sweden Electric, Commercial International Bank, Telecom Egypt, and so far. Infrastructure footprinting, Egyptian companies have particularly in projects across Tanzania, Uganda, Zambia, South Sudan. Sector included hydropower, green economy, roads, bridge, electricity transmission, water infrastructure. I think also the AFCFT create a market of more than 1.4 billion people, combined GDP exceeding $3.4 trillion. The agreement is expected to become the world's largest free trade area. By participating country, Egypt is among the largest industrial economic positions to benefit from a tariff reduction and improve market access.
So Mr. Khattab, what are the most promising African regions that are considered or that present the most promising or the most important business opportunities for Egypt?
Yes, the most accepted objective for Egypt to invest in Africa, we will invest with cooperation with South Sudan, with South Africa, with Kenya, with Sudan, with Libya, but Sudan still now not stable because of the political instability. But we should all the time try to invest in Sudan because it's the protection, the national security of Egypt, and it's one of the key kinds of cooperation, especially Libya and Sudan, because we have the same border and we try to protect our border by investing more in Libya and investing more in Sudan. And also invest in Nigeria, invest in Kenya, all these countries we aim to invest because all these countries are ready for more foreign direct investment. And also South Africa aims to invest in Egypt, especially Swiss Canal Corridor and the North Costa and many different fields of industry. We try all time to support each other and to increase the volume and size of trade between all three countries in Africa and Egypt.
So, Mr. Khattab, the new $100 million Egypt-Africa financing mechanism for Nile Basin countries, how is this different from previous development funds, and who decides which projects have to be or get funded, and how transparent is that process?
Yes, Egypt after hosting COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, start a new kind of investment, especially green economy and green ammonia, and also solar energy power. Take care in all African countries shiny all the year. So investment in the solar energy power and water energy power, investment in the green ammonia, in green hydrogen. All this file will be a hub for more foreign investment from Africa, especially after Africa, Egypt exports to Africa a lot of many different kinds of fertilizers. So we aim to increase the volume of export of fertilizer to Africa because Africa is the land, the green land also, and they need to invest more and more in the agriculture field. Also in investment in AI and telecommunication is very effective because all Africa countries start by 4G of generation, especially in the field of AI and IT or technology. Egypt also will increase more and more in electric car, which is Africa, because all the Africa countries aim to make import of electric car from Egypt, and so on. So Egypt succeeds in doubling its export to Africa from regularly $8 billion today to $16 billion. By 2030, Africa could become one of Egypt's three largest export destinations and a major engaging of industrial growth based on current export level and growth trend. AFCFTA adjustment fund key factors for also one of Egypt's most important economic advantage in Africa is hosting that of African Export and Import Bank, which manage the AFC FTA Adjustment Fund. I think also this fund will create to help Africa countries and business adapt to the new free trade environmental created by the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Its objectives include compensating country for short-term tariff revenue losses and supporting industrial modernization and competitiveness. Financing infrastructure and supply chain improvement is very effective in all African countries, helping SMEs benefit from continental trade liberalization. Also, the size of the fund targets approximately 10 billion over 5 to 10 years. Initial commitment by African Bank, $1 billion. Additional seed grant, 10 billion for the base fund. The fund consists of 3 pillars: the base fund, low grant and technical assistance; general fund, concessional financing; credit fund, commercial financing for government and the private company.
Also, so, Mr. Khattab, in your opinion, what are the most most prominent or important obstacles and challenges that hinder expanding trade with the African countries?
The most challenge is still all African countries need to spend more and more in infrastructure in order to be ready for connecting as a key country with Europe and with China and with USA. Because in Africa we are still need in maximizing the value added through related to the raw material, especially, for example, coffee material and rubber material, and all fuel and gas material also should be spend more and more in gold also in order to be the maximum export of the gold, because Africa includes the gold also. Egypt strengthening its influence in shaping CFTA implementation across the continent. Also, Egypt will, with our two countries in Africa, should connect to each other, depending more and more in COMESA agreement also. I hope the all African countries to be able to make export of all the raw material as a finished good and service, and also we should supporting the world by AI services, and we should spend more and more in programming and AI because it leads the future. Also, the advanced industry related to car industry, especially electric car industry and solar energy power industry. All this we still need to invest more and more. I hope the Egyptian effort related to Africa lead the Africa for more progress before 2030 and before the African agenda 2062 also.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Ahmed Khattab, the economic expert, for your information and insight and for being with us on this show, Nile TV International. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll have a short break and we'll be right back.